Let's get started with our first news. Daniel Cormier was quick to call out a referee for failing to do his job at Noche UFC, and honestly, DC wasn't the only one who noticed. The UFC Hall of Famer was sitting in the commentary booth alongside Dominic Cruz and Brandon Fitzgerald, enjoying what had been a great night of fights. But then, things took a sharp turn. A solid event was overshadowed by a moment that had fans cringing as one unfortunate fighter absorbed way too many shots after already being knocked out. It was the kind of late stoppage that makes you grab your head and yell, "Come on man, do your job." The incident happened during the main card clash between Alexander Hernandez and Diego Ferreira. In round 2, Hernandez landed the exact same punch that had previously knocked out Chase Hooper at UFC 319. Ferreira ran straight into a vicious overhand right, collapsed to the canvas at the Frostbank Center in San Antonio, and from that point it was all downhill. Though Ferreira was technically still awake, he was in no position to defend himself. Hernandez saw the opening and rained down strike after strike, turning what should have been an immediate finish into something far more uncomfortable to watch. We counted 14 punches, yes 14, before the referee finally decided, "Oh right, that's my cue." By that point the damage had been done. The final few shots were so brutal that Hernandez actually bounced Ferreira's head off the canvas like it was a basketball at open gym. Not exactly the kind of highlight you want playing on repeat. Cormier, clearly uncomfortable, could be heard in real time yelling for the referee to stop the fight, his voice rising with each unanswered punch. And when DC went back to watch the replay in slow motion, he didn't hold back his criticism of the official. Fans at home weren't any kinder. Social media lit up with people calling the stoppage disturbingly late, questioning how on earth it took so many shots for the fight to be waved off. One fan joked, "At this point the ref was waiting for Hernandez to sign an autograph before stepping in." Another wrote, "DC screaming to stop the fight was louder than the ref's whistle at his kid's soccer game." Humor aside, most agreed that Ferreira took way more unnecessary punishment than he should have, and it definitely left a sour taste in what was otherwise an exciting card. Cormier has always been vocal when it comes to fighter safety, and Saturday night was no different. His reaction in the booth wasn't just about being dramatic, it was about the reality that one split-second decision can have long-term consequences for a fighter. And when you've got a Hall of Famer practically begging you to step in, maybe take the hint. Instead, we got an awkward stretch of punches that had everyone from fans to commentators yelling stop, while the ref seemed like he was on a lunch break. In the end, Hernandez got the win in devastating fashion, but it came with an uncomfortable asterisk. Ferreira showed toughness, but toughness only goes so far when the referee forgets what his actual job is. And Cormier, with his mix of concern and sharp honesty, summed up what everyone was thinking: this stoppage was way too late. Sometimes it's not just the fighters who get judged after a fight, it's the referees too, and on this night, the official didn't exactly come out looking like Herb Dean. Before moving to the next news, we have one quick request for you. We're constantly working on improving our content to earn your love and support. That's why we'd truly appreciate it if you could take just a moment to leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit the bell icon so you never miss an update. Move on to another news. Ilya, the reigning UFC lightweight champion, has set the MMA world buzzing after giving an intriguing answer to a question that had nothing to do with fighting. Fresh off his stunning first-round knockout of Charles Oliveira at UFC 317 in June, the undefeated star was asked whether he could ever imagine himself stepping into politics, following a path similar to Conor. The comparison is natural. Both men rose to fame with electric performances inside the octagon, captured gold in spectacular fashion, and became larger-than-life figures beyond the cage. But what surprised everyone was how open Ilya was to the idea, even if he hasn't seriously thought about it yet. During a recent media interaction, Ilya explained that he hasn't mapped out any kind of political career. However, he made it clear he would never rule it out completely. If the people ever wanted his leadership, if the public demanded it, then he would consider stepping into that world. And just like that, fans online exploded with reactions. Memes started pouring in, nicknaming him President Ilya, and drawing parallels between his fiery personality and the way Conor once captured the Irish public. Some laughed at the idea, while others said they could genuinely picture him rallying crowds with the same intensity he brings into fight week. Ilya didn't stop there. When the conversation shifted to direct comparisons with Conor, he didn't shy away. He acknowledged Conor's massive influence on MMA, calling him a trailblazer who inspired countless fighters. But Ilya also said with complete confidence that even in his prime, he believes he would have beaten Conor inside the octagon. It wasn't arrogance, it was pure conviction, the kind of mindset that separates champions from contenders. And honestly, when you look at the way Ilya dismantled Oliveira, it's hard not to believe him. What makes this entire situation even more fascinating is how quickly Ilya has become more than just a fighter. In Spain and Georgia, he's already a cultural icon. Kids wear his walkout gear, fans chant his name in arenas, and now the idea of him running for office doesn't sound completely crazy to some people. Sure, he isn't filing campaign papers anytime soon, but the fact that the discussion even exists shows just how powerful his rise has been. For Ilya though, the focus remains on fighting. He's at the peak of his career, holding the lightweight belt and defending it against hungry challengers, but he's also aware of the bigger picture. He knows that with his platform, every word he speaks resonates far beyond the cage. That's why this casual mention of politics sent such shockwaves. Fans aren't just hearing from a fighter, they're hearing from someone who could shape influence outside of sports. In the end, Ilya left things open-ended. No promises, no campaign slogans, just the possibility. He reminded everyone that he lives to inspire, whether through fighting or maybe one day through leadership. And as he smiled while answering, you could almost see why people are already calling him President Ilya. It's a mix of charisma, confidence, and the kind of determination that makes fans believe anything is possible. Whether it's inside the octagon or outside of it, Ilya continues to make sure the world knows his story is only just beginning. Move on to another news. Family loyalty has always run deep in Dagestan, where wrestling traditions are passed from father to son and cousin to cousin. This mountainous region has produced some of MMA's greatest champions, with Khabib Nurmagomedov standing as the most iconic example. His legendary career, built alongside family members who shared the same drive and discipline, left an unshakable mark on the sport. When Khabib retired, he left a massive void at lightweight, a division many fighters have tried to rule, but none have been able to capture the same aura or dominance he once held. Now Ilya has surged into the spotlight, knocking out Charles Oliveira in devastating fashion to claim UFC gold. His meteoric rise has had fans and media rushing to crown him the new king of the lightweight division, but not everyone is convinced, and when Khabib speaks, the MMA world listens closely. Recently, the undefeated legend made it clear that in his eyes, Ilya is not the best lightweight in the world today. Instead, he gave that honor to his cousin, Usman Nurmagomedov, a fighter who has made his name outside the UFC. In a PFL interview, Khabib didn't hesitate. "They have to fight to know who is the best," he said. "People can talk, they can say whatever they want, but in my opinion, a well-rounded fighter, I think Usman is better." Those words carried weight, not only because of Khabib's status, but because of the conviction behind them. While Ilya wears UFC gold, Khabib insisted that a championship belt in the sport's premier promotion doesn't necessarily make someone the absolute best fighter alive. Of course, some of this might sound like family bias, but there's substance behind it. Usman has built an impressive resume, capturing the Bellator lightweight title before making his way into the PFL. His entire career has been dedicated to lightweight, with more than 20 fights of experience under his belt. Ilya, on the other hand, has only one fight in the division, albeit a spectacular one. For Khabib, the difference in depth and resume is too significant to ignore. The timing of these comments is fascinating. Ilya has been riding an incredible wave of momentum, his star power growing with each appearance, and fans already treating him as the legitimate ruler at 155. But Khabib's words cast doubt over that narrative, creating a fresh debate in the MMA community. It's no longer just about Ilya's rise, it's now about how he stacks up against elite talent outside the UFC cage, fighters who are carving their own legacies on different stages. Usman himself didn't shy away from the praise. Instead, he doubled down, boldly stating that his resume outshines Ilya's. He pointed out the obvious: Ilya may be a champion, but his time at lightweight is almost non-existent compared to someone who has lived and breathed the division for his entire career. It was a subtle but sharp reminder that crowning Ilya as the greatest lightweight after just one performance might be premature. This clash of opinions has ignited a new storyline. On one side, Ilya represents the UFC, the promotion many consider the ultimate proving ground. On the other side, Usman represents the growing talent pool outside the UFC, fighters who demand recognition even without the octagon spotlight. With Khabib standing firmly behind his cousin, the debate has only grown louder. Fans now have another reason to argue about who truly deserves the title of best lightweight in the world, and it's no longer just about who holds the UFC belt. Move on to another news. Arman, the #1 contender in the UFC lightweight division, is set to make his return to competition, but not inside the octagon. Instead, he'll be stepping back into the grappling world as he waits for his next UFC opportunity. The Russian star has been patiently biding his time since missing out on a title shot earlier this year. As fans remember, Arman was originally scheduled to rematch Islam Makhachev for the lightweight belt at UFC 311, but a back injury forced him out. It was a crushing setback that delayed what many believed would be his moment to fight for gold. Since then, Arman has stayed close to the action. He even made weight as the official backup for the UFC 317 main event between Ilya and Charles Oliveira. That night ended with Ilya scoring a spectacular first-round knockout to claim the belt, and during his post-fight interview, Ilya mentioned Arman as one of the key names in the division. Still, despite all the hype, months have passed without any concrete news about when or if Arman will get his long-awaited shot at the title. Rather than sitting idle, Arman has chosen to stay busy and sharp through grappling. On Friday, ACBJJ, also known as Absolute Championship of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, announced that Arman will face former UFC and WEC lightweight champion Benson Henderson in a no-gi super fight. The matchup will headline ACBJJ 18, set to take place on September 19 in Moscow, Russia. Henderson, at 41 years old, is considered one of the greatest lightweight fighters of all time. His career includes legendary wins and multiple titles across different promotions, but in recent years he's transitioned into other forms of competition. Most recently, he suffered a loss in Misfits boxing against Idris Virgo about a year ago. Now he steps into the grappling world to test himself against one of the most dangerous lightweights of this generation. For Arman, this will be his third straight grappling match. He already holds back-to-back victories over PFL fighter Makhachev Zainikov and former Bellator lightweight champion Patricky Pitbull. Those wins showed that his skill set translates seamlessly into pure grappling competition. With his relentless pace, explosive scrambles, and strong wrestling base, Arman has become a serious threat on the mats, not just in MMA. This upcoming clash with Henderson is more than just another exhibition. It's a chance for Arman to stay active, keep his name in the spotlight, and continue building momentum while waiting for the UFC to finalize his next fight. For fans, it's an exciting opportunity to see a top contender showcase his ground game against one of the sport's all-time legends. Move on to another news. Daniel Cormier found himself in an unusual position at Noche UFC, admitting afterward that he had serious second thoughts about interviewing Kelvin Gastelum following his win. The reason had nothing to do with how the fight itself played out, but everything to do with the fact that Gastelum once again missed weight, and this time it wasn't by a small margin. Coming in 5 pounds over the middleweight limit, Gastelum set off a wave of criticism before the fight even began, with fans openly calling for the UFC to consider cutting him. Gastelum's career has always been something of a paradox. On one hand, he has consistently delivered entertaining fights, pushing opponents to the brink and earning a reputation as someone who never shies away from a scrap. On the other hand, weight issues have haunted him throughout his journey, raising questions about discipline and professionalism. This time, despite the frustration, he still stepped into the cage against Dustin Stoltzfus and walked away with a unanimous decision victory. The win was solid, the performance was gritty, but the shadow of that weight miss hung over everything. Cormier, reflecting on the event during his post-show recap on YouTube, spoke candidly about the awkward position he found himself in. Sitting inside the Frostbank Center in San Antonio, he ran through the card with his usual enthusiasm, but when it came time to discuss Gastelum, the tone shifted. The former heavyweight and light heavyweight champion explained that while he respects Gastelum for everything he has achieved in his career, he couldn't ignore the reality of the situation. "Guys, I've got to be honest with you," Cormier said. "Kelvin Gastelum I respect greatly because of what he has done in his career. But I've got to be honest, man. Missing weight by that much, I don't know. I don't know how to judge these performances." It was a rare moment of hesitation from Cormier, who usually speaks with absolute conviction. The honesty in his voice reflected the broader sentiment that many fans were already expressing online. It wasn't just about this one fight. For a veteran like Gastelum, someone who has been in title eliminators and competed against the very best, the expectation is higher. Fans want to see him at his best, fully prepared and making the weight he signed up for. Coming in heavy by 5 pounds is not just a small mistake, it's a massive oversight, one that left many wondering if he should have even been allowed to compete. Still, the fight itself was entertaining, and that's the contradiction that Cormier struggled with. On one side, Gastelum looked sharp, pushing the pace and showing the toughness that has defined his career. On the other side, the professionalism was lacking, and it takes away from what otherwise would have been a feel-good win. Cormier's comments added another layer to the conversation, when someone like DC, who has always been respected for his balance of fighter empathy and analyst honesty, admits he's not sure how to even reflect on a performance. That says a lot. It's a reminder that in MMA, victory doesn't always tell the whole story. Sometimes the bigger picture, discipline, preparation, and responsibility matters just as much as getting your hand raised. For Gastelum, that reality is impossible to escape, no matter how many exciting fights he continues to deliver. Move on to another news. Charles Oliveira has broken his silence after fans criticized his fast return at UFC Rio. Just weeks after suffering a devastating knockout loss to Ilia, the former lightweight champion is already preparing to headline in Brazil against striking powerhouse Rafael Fiziev. This marks his first fight on home soil in 5 years, and despite concerns about the short turnaround, Oliveira gave an honest response. The Sao Paulo star admitted he has heard fans speaking bad about his decision to fight so soon, but he isn't letting it affect him. There are people making comments out of the goodness of their hearts, Oliveira said in an interview with Ariel Helwani, but there are others who mean bad by it. Things that happened in the past have already passed. This is a new fight, a new place. I'm just really grateful to have this opportunity and to keep doing what I'm supposed to do, regardless of those who want to speak badly about me. Oliveira's return comes just 105 days after that brutal knockout loss to Ilia, a fight that marked the first time in his career he was finished in such fashion. The quick turnaround has sparked debate, but for Oliveira, it's all about moving forward. Despite back-to-back setbacks in recent performances, the decorated finisher isn't shying away from challenges. Instead, he's taking on another dangerous contender in Fiziev, aiming to remind the world why he was once the lightweight king. Still, Oliveira's fast return doesn't break the record for the quickest turnaround in UFC history. That mark belongs to Khamzat, who stunned the MMA world 5 years ago by making his second octagon appearance just 10 days after his debut. Oliveira may not be setting records, but his willingness to step back into the cage on short notice, especially after such a damaging loss, speaks volumes about his mindset and his fighter spirit. With the crowd in Rio behind him, Oliveira is determined to write a new chapter. Win or lose, his decision to fight again so soon proves that he's not running from adversity. Instead, he's embracing it head-on, ready to deliver another memorable performance in front of his people.